We are honored this morning to have our next candidate, Ms. Cheryl Proctor, and we will jump right in with questions. Board Member Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry. Max, and then Board Member Johnson.
All right, good. And thank you. We're pleased to have you here, Dr. Proctor, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Cheryl Proctor to the community and the board. Dr. Proctor, as you saw in our 90-second video earlier today, comes to us from Portland by way of urban experience as well in Philadelphia and Broward County. In Portland, she's deputy superintendent there, which is basically second in command. So we're so excited to have you today. The board members have some great questions for you. And at the end, I'll come back and you'll have time to make a closing statement too. But with that, we'll just start with questions.
All right. Thank you. Board Member Johnson.
All right. Good morning, Dr. Cheryl Proctor.
Good morning,
All
sir.
right.
How are you?
I have the first question.
Yes.
Work with me now. Distinguish between academic growth and proficiency, and give an example of your experience in developing and implementing initiatives for improving both. In your answer, please discuss your specific role, who and how you engaged others in the process, and the impact on student achievement outcomes.
Okay. So can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. So the question asked for me to distinguish the difference between academic growth and proficiency. And, growth, when I think about growth, growth is what happens when we are targeting specific instruction for children, when we are looking at specific skill sets that they need, and how we can advance those skill sets. Most recently, and you probably have this here in Memphis, coming off of COVID and understanding the learning loss that occurred within children, we implemented learning acceleration, right, to target and to address growth. Academic achievement and proficiency is about what happens all day, every day in Tier 1 classroom instruction. Is it rigorous? Is it standards aligned? Is it meeting the grade level expectation? Are we ensuring that students have full access to the grade level content in each and every day of their learning? And that really targets where we are going to reach proficiency. So coming into a city like Portland, where there is, I came in initially as a chief academic officer, and in doing some initial assessments of the instruction in Portland, I went into classrooms, I looked at the instruction, and I realized pretty quickly that I needed to bring to scale what I was seeing and what I was experiencing. So I partnered with a national partner that was able to come in and to conduct a assessment across our entire system. Over a period of 4 days, they did over 230 lessons observed, and they were able to provide a report for us. It was an instructional review and an academic diagnostic. In their observations, what they looked at our data. They wanted to see what was happening in student achievement and also in growth. They looked at our curriculum. They wanted to see, did our students have access to high-level complex text? They looked at instructional practice and to look at how it is that teachers were actually delivering the instruction. And then finally, we looked at just the whole combination of the experience grounded in equity. Which students were learning, which students were getting access to the grade level content, and we took that report and we developed then our educational equity framework and focus. I worked with my team that included senior directors across all grade levels and content areas, and we grounded that educational equity in 3 components. The first component was grounded in ensuring that we were adopting high-quality instructional materials. If students do not have high-quality instructional materials, then it is difficult to ensure that they're going to get the grade level standards aligned instruction that they need. The second thing that we grounded it in was an instructional framework. We had to answer the question, what does good teaching and learning look like here in this district? And in building an instructional framework, we ensured that it was actionable, that there were teacher indicators and student indicators, so that when we took this framework and went from classroom to classroom to classroom, we knew that there was equity, because there is equity in the standards, there is equity ensuring that there is a common practice that is high level and rigorous and deeply engaging. And that instructional framework had also 4 components, not just grade level standards aligned, but we wanted to ensure that the instruction was culturally affirming, that it was data-driven, and then highly engaging. So with this framework, we then had to invest, guess what, in teacher professional learning. Because when you adopt new curriculum, when you build a framework, now we have to do the work of training and developing our teachers to truly understand how to enact on all of this on behalf of children. We went through a process of ensuring that we were monitoring our plan. We did learning walks. We looked at classroom instruction through the academic office doing learning walks, and then the Office of Schools doing their instructional rounds. At this point of the implementation, I was promoted to deputy superintendent. And this means that the chief academic officer, the chief of schools, and the chief of student support services all reported into my division, which is the Division of Instruction in School Communities. And so I was able to align across the entire division our practices that we were doing, not just for all of our students, but especially in our special ed and in our specialized learning spaces in our schools, and provided additional training, not just to teachers, but also then to the building leaders. The results that I got were phenomenal. In achievement, we were able to, in the post-pandemic era, where many districts were seeing a dip, we were able to increase achievement in math, across grades 3 through 8, and then across ELA in grades 3 through 8, each and every grade for proficiency. And our proficiency rates then were double digits above the state average for 2 years in a row. So this was the work that we did to address proficiency. Back to the learning acceleration components. We then looked at, in the midst of this, and to kind of layer the instruction and what was happening, we held and ensured that, yes, all students had access to grade level standards aligned instruction, but also we looked at which students were not performing well, which students were not meeting proficiency, and built an intervention, a strong intervention program across our district. We had our WIN block, WIN meaning what each student needs at the time, right? So we had a WIN block in our schools where we were providing interventions for our students using our learning acceleration specialists. And what we used to monitor that would be our district benchmark assessments. We used MAP assessments. And early on, we were able to see in our MAP data that we were seeing the growth that we wanted to see in our students achieving towards full proficiency. And so the goal is always to ensure proficiency. Growth is just what we do to get us there along the way.
Good morning. We have 20 more minutes of morning here. My name is Amber Hewitt Garcia. I'm the District 8 board member. Thank you so much for being here. Your second question from the board is to describe your process for evaluating, securing, and monitoring the financial needs of a school district.
Okay, thank you for the question. So In looking at the financial needs of any school district, you know, we want to make sure. Sure, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Very good, thank you. In order to monitor the budgetary needs of any district, we have to start with a strong strategic plan. What is the vision? Working alongside the board to ensure that the board goals are reflected deeply in a strong strategic plan that sets the pathway for the direction where we want to go. And then our investments need to align to those goals and to that strategic plan. And so the majority of our investments should be in schools, student-facing, with teachers and students. But in order to ensure that we are monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of our budgeting process, it takes two prongs that I see it in. One is to do a comprehensive budget analysis. We want to make sure that we are looking at what the budget currently says our priorities are, where we are investing the majority of our dollars, what is the return on the investment? Are we able to maximize on those investments that we are making? We want to deeply understand where there are opportunities then to make adjustments and to realign, if it's out of alignment, realign back to that strategic plan and or maximize consistent alignment spaces so that we can advance our progress towards our goals. The purpose for this is to ensure that we have fiscal stability. And in order to do that, that's the second component. That means to do some financial forecasting. Where is it that we're getting our dollars, whether it's from state, whether it's from local, regional, federal, where do we stand with our levies, which are taxpayer dollars that are contributing to our education system? Or do we have bond initiatives that are in place? You know, and then how is it that we are, again, ensuring that our budget is focused on those priorities? We want to enhance the experiences of our students, enhance the experiences of our educators, and do some long-term forecasting. So, for example, in this budget season, there are two components that are impacting our budgets, and it really is ESSER dollars are going away effective September 2024, and B, we've just come off of a negotiation with our union, teachers union, and there are some adjustments and realignments that we're going to have to do within our budget. How do you go about that? Well, the first process is to, again, perhaps look at making a pause on any further investments, you know, look at where you can capture some cost savings, whether there are vacancies, whether there are unspent funds that we could recapture to repurpose and realign. And so the process also involves keeping the board informed all along the way. The process is also grounded in transparency. The process for me includes parents and students, stakeholders. We do surveys to say on our website, what are you interested in seeing, you know, us invest more in? And just to give voice, and then we have a CBRC, which is our community-based our community budget review committee, where they are also informed and involved in the process. It is an elected committee that, not elected officially, but it's a nominated committee that comes and participates in the process as well. So our budget process and what I will bring as your superintendent is a comprehensive process that will examine the efficiencies in our budget, that would allow us to do some forecasting and also allow us to bring in transparency and the needs of the broader community. You're welcome.
Thank you, Joyce Coleman, District 9. What is your experience and knowledge of Facilities Management.
Okay, thank you for that. So, as a deputy superintendent, I am informed as a part of the executive leadership team on all aspects of what's happening within the district. And so, with that being said, when it comes to facilities management, we want to make sure that we have safe schools for all of our students, comfortable learning environments for our teachers, students, and staff each and every day. Currently, in my role, I am working with our school modernization team. For example, we received a large bond, and with those bond dollars, we are building doing a rebuild or refresh on all of our high schools in the system in phases over a period of years. And so while we just completed one high school, we are in the process of engaging a community around the specs of what they would like to see in Jefferson High School. Jefferson High School sits in what was once historically Black community called Albina in Portland. And so with this project, for example, this is why community voice is very important. Through the engagement, we discovered that there were some key elements that were really important for them in the rebuild of their high school. And when it came to a discussion about swing space, where students will have to go while the school is being constructed, it brought up some new feelings for the community because they were worried about losing the essence and the tradition of what is a traditionally Black school, high school in the Albina community. And so we've had to go back and work with a design team to revisit the specs, to revisit the design elements, to pause on the movement of swing so that we could address the needs of the community. The second piece with facilities that I engage in is with our facilities management. We have a comprehensive facilities management plan where we are planning to go in and make corrections, updates, retrofit our facilities where there are gaps. We've had a backlog, unfortunately, and because of this backlog, we've had to now develop a strong plan that's going to accelerate the outcomes. I work closely with the chief operating officer, our executive director over our facilities to ensure, again, that we are able to meet the needs of our schools and our communities. And another way in which I engage with facilities is, we have our EOC, which is our Emergency Operation Command Center. So when we have situations where inclement weather, power outages, we stand up the EOC that includes our facility teams so that we have a clear understanding of the current condition of a particular school and whether or not we can continue with school, and we have to, in the moment, make decisions whether school will be open that day, depending on the safety, the needs, and the climate condition within that building for our students and staff. So this is some of my experience with facilities, working with school modernization teams, working with our chief operation officer, working with our facilities team to really ensure that we're able to provide a safe school environment that would maximize learning and teaching for our educators, students, and staff.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Michelle McKissick, representing District 1. So your next question is regarding governance and board relations. And if you need me to repeat the question, I'm more than happy to do so.
Yes.
Describe your experience working with a school board Include examples of how you have kept or would keep all board members informed on the issues, needs, and operations of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the primary role of the superintendent. And I say that because, coming to Memphis-Shelby County, it would be an honor to lead side by side with this board. And I definitely understand the importance of keeping the board informed so that as you govern our system, that you are able to make sound decisions on behalf of your community and students and staff. So my experience with the board is vast. I work closely in building individual rapport with each and every board member, and specifically with board leadership. I currently, as an executive leader, again, second to the superintendent, work closely with the board to inform them quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily if needed. And so, the quarterly inputs and feedback to the board would be when quarterly data is available, whether it's student achievement data, grading data. Those are just some examples. Some facilities and overall management information will come, and depending on the cycle of when information is available, some of it may come at a quarterly pace. On a monthly basis, I lead alongside with our board members on some of the committees. So currently on our Student Success Committee, I work closely with board leadership on the agenda setting for the Student Success Committee. Also work closely with the board leadership on agenda setting for our general board meetings, executive sessions, and work sessions. I ensure that staff is available to provide resources and information to answer board questions so that, all the information that you need to have your discussions, to engage in your workshops, to make decisions is available to you and at your fingertips. But also, even during those sessions, bringing in staff intermittently so that they can, in the moment, be able to be of a support to the board. Then weekly, we have our weekly newsletter that we send out to the board that updates them on any of the day-to-day that happened over the course of the week. And then there are times when there's need for daily. The best example I could give, again, is just most recently with our labor negotiations that happened in Portland. And so while we were negotiating all along the way, we would update the board regarding the negotiations with our union partners and share with them, recommendations and then to get guidance. As things started to move a little closer and become a little bit more intensified, we moved those meetings, executive sessions, to weekly because the negotiations were happening in such a timely way that we needed to come before the board to share updates, information, our most current compensation package that we had made proposal, and to get authority from the board to go higher, to make adjustments, and to get a temperature of where the board, how the board feels about where we are with those negotiations. And then coming in as things progressed, working daily with board members. If you've been engaged in union negotiations, especially in a full collective bargaining process, that from day to day things change. From day to day, there's new information that's needed, and we provided that information to the board daily and held the line where we needed to hold the line until we had authority from the board with full information and transparency to them so that they could support decisions that needed to be made. So that's some of my experiences working closely with board and board members, individual members, board leadership. It takes a cadence of communication. It takes building a mutual respect and rapport, and it takes transparency of what's happening within the system, to bring the issues, the hard issues, up front, and to allow the board to make sound decisions.
Reverend Al Green, Board Chair.
Reverend Al.
Staff relations and leadership. Describe your leadership style, giving specific examples of how you motivate employees and resolve differences that arise among them. I'll repeat it for you.
Thank you.
Describe your leadership style, giving specific examples of how you motivate employees and resolve differences that arise among them.
Great, thank you. So, you know, over the course of my career, this question about leadership style comes up, you know, when you are interviewing to be an assistant principal for the first time, interviewing to be a principal for the first time interviewing for my first district leadership role. And I've really settled that, you know, you ebb and flow within style. I'll name that I am in between what is known as a transformational leader and a servant leader. And what that means to me is this. It means that I inspire others to hold our core vision to task. I also have high expectations. And with my high expectations, I hold people accountable to achieving towards those expectations, all the while creating the conditions for success for staff, for students, and for teams. So a way that I could demonstrate for you that I have motivated a team is through going back to the work that I did as coming in as a chief academic officer around teaching and learning. And what I found is through the process, teams don't know what they don't know. And when you provide information, when you provide the level of support that builds their capacity so that they can be successful, they are truly motivated by that. And what I also came to understand as I was elevated into the deputy superintendent role is that between offices, there is a dynamic that I actually experienced while in the school district of Philadelphia, and I was experiencing it again in Portland. And there's this dynamic between an academic office and an office of schools. The academic office that says the what, you know, what is the curriculum, what does teaching and learning look like, and sets forth you know, the what and how we're going to go about instruction of children. And then you have the schools office that supervises schools and supervises leaders and builds the capacity of leadership through leadership development. And it's highly relational in that school's office. So when we were working through our educational equity plan, I realized quickly that I needed to build internal coherence to ensure that this was not just the academic office's plan, but this was the plan that's going to work for all children, and that we needed to be coherent across our approach. And so what we did was we paired with the academic office that was doing the learning walks and the school's office that was doing instructional rounds, which is a process of visiting classroom and giving feedback to principals and teachers. Learning walks is looking at implementation. Is there implementation of the adopted curriculum? Is there implementation of the instructional framework that we designed? So while one is looking for implementation, the other is looking to give feedback and growth. And we brought them together. I brought them together as a instructional priorities steering committee, where each team had to bring their data and to coalesce and have conversations about the data and the observations that they were making within the schools. And then they each had to come up with the plan of how they were going to follow up, how they were going to hold schools and support leaders in the implementations at the school side, but also how we were going to pivot our academic priorities through teacher professional learning so that we could strengthen the outcomes overall. And so in bringing the teams together, along with our student support services team, we were able to ensure that there was a clear alignment across our practice, that it wasn't just one over the other, but we were working cohesively to ensure that we were maximizing on the outcomes possible for our students. So that was a little where I brought resolve to a difference in approach and a difference in understanding in terms of the perspective of the work that was being done and the focus.
Hello,
Hi.
Stephanie Love, District 3.
Hello.
And this is a long-winded question.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
In what ways would you play, glasses please, in what way role would you play in your administration? Please include in your response include how you would define community and how you would keep the community informed and engaged on your needs and progress of the district.
So I think I hear you asking about community engagement, and the role that my administration would play in that.
Yeah. In what way what role would the community play in your administration? Please include in your response how you would define community and how you would keep the community informed and engaged on the needs of the district and progress of the system.
Okay. So, as superintendent, and if I'm afforded the opportunity to be superintendent here in Memphis-Shelby County, I believe that the role of a superintendent is to be the lead educator for the system, for the city, right? And so, in being the lead educator for the city, I want to inform, educate, and bring together an entire community. And so the role that the community would be absolutely significant and paramount in the work that I do. How do I define community? I define community as every single stakeholder that has an interest in the education of our children within this city. Every single stakeholder, parents, students, teachers, leaders, community advocates, legislative representatives, everyone that has this deep interest in what's happening in the city of Memphis. Because what I know is that education will bridge economic divides, housing divides, divides of opportunity and access for our community. So I described even in the budget process how we have a Community Budget Review Committee. It is a way of being transparent and where parents and staff can ensure that they have a representative at the table to hear about how we are thinking about our budgets and how we are planning forward our budgets. So I think about it in two ways. It's how am I engaging a community, and then how am I advocating for a community? So when it comes to community engagement, in my administration, I will ensure that as we are making plans, for example, in Portland, we went through an extensive strategic planning process where we had community engagement sessions and invited all members of the community to have a voice in what it is that we would want to see as ultimate outcomes in our district. The strategic plan is grounded in three things. One, it's a clearly defined portrait of a graduate. What skills and dispositions do we need our students to have by the time they leave our system? What is it that we are looking for to, have them learn and be able to do? The second is our educator essentials. For every adult and educator that impacts a student, that potential graduate, what do we need, how do we need to train, develop those educators, and what are the skills and dispositions that they need to have in order to support students? Are they relational? Are they able to meet students' needs? And then what system shifts do we need to put in place? How to revisit our entire system to align and bring alignment towards that goal that's outlined in our educator essentials and back down to our graduate portrait. And so the community was deeply involved in that process, and we had a number of engagements over a period of almost 6 months. Then there's the community advocacy piece. I'm very proud that I sit as the executive sponsor of the Center for Black Student Excellence. Prior to my arriving in Portland, there was a bond measure that was passed, and the bond measure called for the development of a Center for Black Student Excellence. And a lot of people say, would wonder why. Well, when we look at data and we look at achievement data, if for example, here in Memphis, less than 25% or 20 to 25% of our students, actually it's less than 20% of our students are proficient, then the data tells you a story on the other side. You have 75 to 79% of our students that are not performing. In the city of Portland, when we look at that data and we look at how persistently our Black students were not performing, we wanted to develop a new approach to rethink and imagine what that could look like. We held over 150 engagement sessions with the Black community and the Black leaders in the city of Portland to think about how can we reimagine the learning experiences and accelerate the experiences of not just Black students, yes, but all students. And this is where we were able to come up with a comprehensive plan to not only design a specific facility for the community, but to engage the community in the design of programming, of instructional approach, in the voice of saying what types of teacher development would be needed. And with this comprehensive plan, there is an advocacy that happens within the community. And so the board approved for PPS to partner with 7 of our major community leaders from our POIC to our Black Parent Initiative to the Albina Vision Trust and many others, that we would create a new entity of which I would sit along with others on the board to monitor the experiences and the outcomes of the Center for Black Student Excellence over time. And so this is a work that we have in place now, and it really speaks to how, in my leadership, I will not only engage the community, but advocate for the broader community. Each and every student, each and every demographic of student, and ensure that we're able to meet their needs and bring the outcomes that we desire for our city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Woods. Good. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Proctor. And great to see you here. And thank you, board members, for your attentive listening and the clear questions. This is your opportunity just to make any closing remarks or provide any information that you'd like to have the board hear. Anything that they didn't ask you that maybe they wish they asked you, you would wish they asked you. But this is your chance for the next few minutes.
Yeah, thank you for that. So coming before you for this interview is not by chance. I have considered Memphis for a long time. I had an opportunity to come and visit your city a couple months back and to really engage and envision what this would look like. I come from large systems. I come from large urban systems with 25 years of experience in education. 22 of those years have been in systems that serve, if not nearly 200,000 students, over 200,000 students. I am a systems thinker. I know what it takes to move students and to improve outcomes. I am an advocate for our people because I have lived and grown in a society that didn't always see me and appreciate what I brought. I came to this country, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country at the age of 5. I was educated here. I was a student that did what was asked of me, and I passed and did really well with high marks in school. Yet I found when I was in college and entered college, I was poorly prepared for my college experience. I started my education career as a special education teacher. So there are two things that I learned in that. I learned how to understand clearly the present level of performance of children, that you start with children where they are. And then I also learned how to build a personalized approach through an IEP, yes, but it is still that personalized learning that sees each child for what they need and provides the quality of instruction that would help them to be successful. And as a leader, I bring all of these aspects of myself to the work that I do each and every day, and I will bring all of these aspects of myself to the city of Memphis and Shelby County to be that community partner, advocate, and to lead alongside this board. So thank you for the opportunity today.